All right, I'm going to go ahead and start us off. I know our next presenter, Arnav, is graciously joining as he's doing some training in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So welcome to the Adaptive Cloud Community Call. It is December, which is crazy to think. I know that we started this back in April or March of this year. So we've had quite a few. For those of you that might be dropping off early, just a disclaimer, we will not be having a January Adaptive Cloud Community Call just because the way the first Wednesday falls, I think it's actually on the 1st of January. And obviously, most folks are off for that. If you're working that day, that's kind of crazy. Hopefully, you can take some time off. But yeah, so we'll be coming back in February for the February Adaptive Cloud Community Call in the new year. So just an FYI, like I said, if folks are dropping off early. But getting into the good stuff here, I'm doing the normal spiel here. This call is focused on the Adaptive Cloud Community product updates. So topics are ranging from Azure Arc to Azure, I guess now Azure Local, not Azure Stack HCI, Azure IoT, and AKS. Presenters will go over the topics, and then we'll engage in a Q&A at the end, and we can open up the floor to you all. Hopefully the Q&A functionality works this time. If not, just feel free to post your questions in the chat. We'll make sure to get the answers there. But we have these calls for the first Wednesday of every month. And as a reminder, this call is non-NDA, so feel free to publicly discuss all of the products and services and updates that are talked about today. As you all are aware, this is our GitHub, so this is a one-stop shop for all of the resources, the calendar invites, access to the Teams channel, all of the good stuff. So that can be found there. It's available to you all. It's public, so feel free to share it with your colleagues, your friends, whomever else. And these calls are recorded, so all of the recordings are posted to our YouTube page. You can find them in our playlist there. But yeah, if you have friends that wanted to join today but couldn't, no worries. Like I said, call is recorded, posted to YouTube, should be posted sometime later this week. Something I say it's new, but it's not that new. It's been like 2 months, 3 months now. Is the Adaptive Cloud Community Group on LinkedIn. So please join that if you haven't already. There, we're trying to repost some news updates basically there, and just making sure that everyone is staying in the loop of all of the fun things that are going on. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Arnav, who will provide you with the regular Azure Server updates.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, yep, we can go to the next slide here. And so today we just have very quick updates. And so in the next slide, this is our big announcement from Ignite, which was just 2 weeks ago now, which was we announced Windows Server Management enabled by Azure Arc. And so with Windows Server Management enabled by Azure Arc, this will give Azure Arc enabled server customers access to a bunch of Windows Server management capabilities effectively at no additional cost. And so the way it works is if you're a customer that has Windows Server software assurance or through CSP licensing, or you're enrolled in the Windows Server 2025 pay-as-you-go offer, you can access the following Azure capabilities at no additional cost. You get Azure Update Manager. That's typically $5 per server per month at no cost, and that allows you to do OS patching, update status, etc. Azure Machine Configuration, including Azure Policy Guest Configuration, which typically costs $6 per server per month, also included with that, as well as Azure Change Tracking and Inventory, which incurs that same $6 per server per month cost, and that includes inventory of software on a machine. And so all of those services that are typically charged now we're waiving those costs for you as an Arc Server customer. Additionally, we have a set of new Windows Server management capabilities. Then these were announced with Windows Server 2025. This includes best practices assessment, so you get performance insights and security recommendations, remote support, so you can do just-in-time access securely, accelerated networking with its troubleshooting, and the configuration of Azure Site Recovery in Hyper-V environments, and Windows Admin Center as well in the Azure portal. So all of those capabilities are now accessible to you as a SA or a pay-as-you-go customer through Azure. So these are all net new capabilities. So you both have those traditional Azure management services that used to be charged, now are waiving the fee, and those Windows Server management capabilities available at no additional cost. And so with that, it should also be noted that there are some storage, log data ingestion, and compute that is not fully waived, especially with the BPA change tracking and the site recovery as well, with the site recovery configuration included, but the site recovery vault itself and licensing still going to incur charges. So we wanted to just be careful there with the caveat with the asterisk for everyone to have the right understanding. With that, I'm going to quickly share screen if that's all right. And here we go. So here I am in Azure Portal. And in Azure Portal, you'll see now under the licensing pages, Windows Server Azure benefits and licenses. And this is exactly what I was talking about. And so you see on the right pay-as-you-go. And what's important to note is with your pay-as-you-go machines, you get those same benefits I mentioned at no additional cost included. But for your Arc-enabled servers, you're going to have to explicitly attest. And so you'll have your eligible Windows Server instances come up here. And you'll be able to select those Windows Server instances like this. Then you'll be able to select Activate Benefits. And upon selecting Activate Benefits, you get the whole list of management services that are included with this offer. You click Yes to attest, and then you can click Activate. And with that, you're going to be able to activate your Arc-enabled server to these benefits. Now, the licensing channel does have to be valid. And so we do know that there are some issues with this that are continue to be resolved. So please keep to the latest agent version. We have continued resolution through the January agent version where we're addressing the unknown licensing channel issue that's especially impacting 2012. So there are some fixes continuing to be run, but with that activation and enrollment, you'll be able to use those Azure management services for the additional benefit. And one neat view you might want to consider using with this is actually our enabled services view. So we recently have this enabled service view as well. And with that enabled service view, you're going to be able to enroll in different Azure management services at scale. So you'll be able to enroll in change tracking inventory, for example, Azure Update Manager, Monitor Insights, and Defender, as well at scale with your Arc-enabled machines. So it helps make it easier for you to start using those Azure management services from day zero with your Arc-enabled servers. So with that, that's a wrap of the very short demo I had planned. And obviously, we do have documentation on this experience, as well as more information on how you can use PowerShell, CLI, etc., to enroll at scale and activate these benefits at scale. With that, that's a wrap on my section. I do see a hand up. I don't know, Thomas, if you wanted to share anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Arnav. There was one question we had from the community earlier on. I'm not sure if that person is on the call, but they posted into the Teams channel. And I saw this question otherwise before showing up, and maybe you can help us see that. There is when you deploy a VM on Azure Stack HCI or Azure Local, then it seems that people don't see the Windows Server management for these servers. Maybe you can clarify this quickly because it seems to be something which maybe shows up sooner or later.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're actually going to have a fix for that, targeting about January, February. So today you can programmatically use the CLI to enroll those HCI machines. They're just not showing up in the view under the Windows Server Azure Management Benefit VMs. So we do have a fix for that, and that's going to be coming in Jan Feb.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Sure, Per, go ahead.
Hi, Arnav. I posted a question. You said it's free to an Arc-enabled Windows Server. That's great. But if you're doing the Arc Bridge for Windows Server, that includes a CVMM. What about license cost for that?
Yeah, so the SCVMM itself will include a license cost, right? But Arc enabling your existing SCVMM, that should not incur licensing costs currently through the Arc private cloud resource type.
Hey, so a quick follow-up question now on the SCVMM. When we do the Arc enablement, is that going to act as a resource bridge? Like, are we getting the similar experience like a vCenter kind of a thing?
Yeah, exactly. So our Arc-enabled SCVMM, very much like Arc-enabled VMware vSphere with the vCenter connection. That's what delivers the lifecycle management capability. So start, stop, create, resizing the VMs.
From the portal. Awesome. That's great.
Exactly.
Hey, and one quick follow-up question on a different one. You talked about the change tracking, right? Is that a configuration management? What it is?
Yeah, so Azure Change Tracking and Inventory performs like reporting on the software, registries, etc., on the machine, and how that changes over time. So it's sort of as internal software and hardware inventory, as well as reporting on any changes on that over time.
Okay, so it's more of a configuration management tracking.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Thank you.
Perfect. Are there any other questions for Arnav? I know Arnav is probably going to drop off here after he's done presenting, which he is. So if there are any questions for him before he drops off, feel free to raise your hand now. I know we have the Q&A section at the end, but just make sure to catch Arnav if you do have any. Nicola?
Yes, a question. There is a list of few, I would say, bugs in this recent functionality released for the Windows servers, and the most feedback for resolution of those, let's say, bugs is that it will be postponed till January, February due to the this let's say period when new deployments are not allowed. Is there any chance that this might happen earlier, the deployments of updates, or it will be like firm, curved in stone, January, February deployments?
We continue to target January. So January is our target. That said, if we do have a safe deployment before then, a safe deployment window before then, there might be deployment in the December timeline. But current target is January, and so that's when customers should expect to see the fix rolled out.
Okay, is it January, like early January or end of January?
Middle of January.
Okay, thank you very much.
Perfect. Any other questions before Arnav drops off? Now's your shot. All right, and if you think of any, feel free to post them in the chat. I'll make sure to relay them to Arnav. But I will go ahead and continue sharing. Thank you so much, Arnav.
Thank you.
Let me go back to the slide. All right, and I will hand it off then to Shelly.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, my name is Shelly Olhaven. I'm a UX researcher in the Azure organization, and I get to work with the Arc Jumpstart team doing research. We are currently looking for participants to join us for some various research that we have planned in the near term, as well as longer term. The research, generally our participation, if you want to join us, it's usually a 45 to 60-minute call, and we'll do everything asking you about using Arc Jumpstart, getting your thoughts and feedback on new UX screens and investments that we're thinking about making, as well as some other activities that are related to investments that we're considering for Arc Jumpstart going forward. So my ask for you, if you're interested in participating in research, we'd love to talk to you. Simply just click on, or simply just take an image of or go to the QR code that's there, and take about, it should be less than a minute to complete the survey, and then I'll follow up with you directly. And if you fit with, if we think it's a good fit, that you can participate in some research that we're planning to field in the next couple of weeks, I'll get you scheduled. If it's a longer term opportunity, I'll let you know, and you'll be in my pool of users that I reach out to, or participants that I reach out to for future opportunities. So quickly take the survey at the QR code. Thank you, and I'll get back to you soon. Any questions before I turn it back to Kiana and the rest of the team? And if you don't have any questions now, I'll be here for the rest of the call as well. You can always ping me directly, or just ping me through the research, or through filling out the questionnaire. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Shelly. This is one I highly recommend, mainly because I'm part of this research opportunity too. I'm kind of in the background, shameless plug. So yeah, feel free to scan the QR code. Like Shelly said, if it's a good fit, then she'll be in touch. And if not, she'll keep you in the stash of future opportunities for Jumpstart research opportunities. So without further ado, I'll hand it over then to Tony to talk about the ACSA updates.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Tony Joint, and I'm going to represent the Azure Container Storage enabled by Azure Arc product group today. So I'm pretty excited to be here to talk with everyone about the availability of the Azure Container Storage enabled by Azure Arc service. It's being released as a component of the Azure IoT Operations Suite. We announced at Ignite that you can now use the Azure Container Storage enabled by Azure Arc to provide durable, fault-tolerant storage in your edge installations in the Adaptive Cloud. And you can do that by installing the Azure IoT Operations Suite. So Azure Container Storage enabled by Azure Arc is a Kubernetes native CNCF compliant service that you can run on your Arc connected Kubernetes systems to provide a shared read-write-many storage class for your critical workloads at the edge. ACSA does also provide a cloud sync component to enable workloads that require disconnected operations and data mobility from edge to cloud to blob or OneLake storage. So this allows your applications to process and write data that can be transferred seamlessly to the public cloud if you need that for further analysis, processing, or archival storage. Speaking of the public cloud, in the public cloud, there are multiple storage options depending on your application needs. If you're running Azure Kubernetes Service in the public cloud, you can choose between Blob, Azure Files, or several third-party offerings, something akin to Azure NetApp Files. But at the edge, you're generally responsible for your own storage subsystem. Azure Container Storage provides a more consistent feature set to enable your adaptive cloud vision so that you can deploy your workloads at the edge as well as in the public clouds and applications that span between them. So taking a look at the high-level architecture. So in this system, you have a Kubernetes cluster that's Arc connected. Your application, which is shown on the left in the box there, takes out a persistent volume claim against the Azure Container Storage enabled by Azure Arc Service. That's a standard Kubernetes PVC interface. And then that interface allows you to have shared local file system access, or you can request a Cloud Sync ingest volumes. In the case of Cloud Sync ingest volume, which is shown in the yellowish-orange box there, the data is then transferred via Blob over to the right-hand side to the public cloud into either your Blob or a Lakehouse volume or OneLake. Once that happens, then the local data is purged in the local system so that space is then freed so that you can then write more data at the edge. So this allows you to have less provisioned data at the edge and use the public cloud either as an extension storage for archival or processing or additional work with Power BI. So if we look a little bit more in depth at the system, there's a little bit more to the implementation than just simple local file system or blob uploads. ACSA file systems also include internal AC store for fault tolerance. AC store is bundled with ACSA and is only enabled when you configure for 3 or more node configurations. When AC store is in use, AC store creates a pool of the local disks shown at the bottom of the diagram from your nodes, pools that data, and then triplicates your data across those disks to give you fault-tolerant storage to prevent data loss in the event of a node or a disk failure. This AC store is the same AC store that's provided in the public cloud. So this brings some powerful data protection to your edge applications. ACSA service pods run on each node in your cluster, consuming those AC store pools. So this allows a lower latency connection for your application pods, but it also allows for failover. So if one of the nodes fails, your application can move to another node and there's already an ACSA pod there running, ready to serve that data. So as I mentioned, ACSA is available now and is installed by default as part of Azure IoT Operations. If you look on the resources here on this slide, we've got links to several other ways that you can consume or test out Azure Container Store enabled by Azure Arc. You can install AIO and use AIO as a baseline, or we are also leveraging Jumpstart so that you can install different types of Jumpstart applications to be able to test out ACSA. So we have a Jumpstart drop, 2 of them, one for a local file system and one for Cloud Sync. And those are a pretty basic installation that you can use as a baseline to complete your own application testing. In addition to those Jumpstart drops, there is also a Jumpstart scenario that includes image detection, and it deploys a little bit of a small scenario so that you can run that, and it will give you all the virtual machines and the scenario so that you can test that out and see how that works and take that and mold that to your individual application. And then lastly, we also have we're also included in the Jumpstart Agora hypermarket scenario. So you can download that as well and check that out. We can be contacted via ACSA at Microsoft.com alias, or you can always reach out to me directly if you want to discuss further how Azure Container Storage enabled by Azure Arc can be used to provide durable, fault-tolerant storage for your Kubernetes applications. Go ahead, Kavalan.
Yeah, Tony, this is a great option, right? So, but let me give some customer scenarios, and I need some intel from you on this. Manufacturing customers who I'm working with, they have like 2 on-site based deployments, right? So this is a great option. We can sync up the data to the cloud. With the stretch clustering is no more available as an option for us. Can this be utilized for a data sync between 2 sites?
So it currently does not offer that functionality. However, I would like to hear some more about what the customer needs are, so that we can look at we already have a roadmap of future features, just to make sure that as a possibility we can solve that for you and your needs.
Absolutely, Tony. I'll send the details offline to you. We can discuss this in detail.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, and I'll pass it back to Kiana.
Thanks, Tony. All right, so I guess maybe Thomas, you might want to take control. I just took control, but you can also retake control if you want.
I just did. Perfect. So yeah, Kiana and I will talk a little bit about the Ignite recap. 2 weeks ago, we had obviously Microsoft Ignite. I'm sure you saw a lot of the announcements and things which have been discussed there. And so to summarize this a little bit, like we have obviously written multiple blogs on tech community, ACOM, and where a little bit more of the strategic and vision posts are. But there, I kind of try to put all this as a summary together. So there is a blog post I put together with all the links, all the blogs, basically, we are now with the announcements there we had around Azure Local with Azure HCI, for example. This was one of the big announcements, which was very well received. We also got a lot of traction there at the booth during Ignite. So that's something. And then obviously we had a ton of different Azure Arc announcements with like the things Arnav just showed, for example, as well as on the IoT operations side where we went GA, and then a lot of interesting Arc Jumpstart announcements as well. So if you want to go and read through this, please check out that link. So you can basically go and read all about this as well. Then something we officially launched at Microsoft Ignite, but we announced it basically a week before, was the Arc Jumpstart community badges. And so this is something for those who haven't seen that. We put a link in there as well to this program. So it's something really to recognize the community working on Arc Jumpstart related projects and doing like scenarios and providing help, helping us with finding issues and fixing stuff or providing code, developing drops. So we have a ton of different things there on Jumpstart badges. If you haven't really looked at this yet, please check out the Jumpstart page. I put the link on the slide deck as well. This is just something we try to give back to the community. We already have, I think, around like 400 of these badges sent out to people who actually did a lot of great work there on Jumpstart. So please feel free, if you want to learn more about these badges, you can go there to the Jumpstart page there as well. So with that, I'm going to quickly hand it over to Kiana, talk about some of the stuff we did at Microsoft Ignite on the show floor.
Yeah, so the first thing was some of the co-engineering meetings with some of the customers. So Kohl's, P&G, Chevron, and Walmart, for instance. Some of our executives were having regular meetings. And the universal theme from the Kohl's discussion, you can see the 4 bullet point, or I guess the 3 bullet points there, is that they had some challenges faced with updating to the Azure Stack HCI over the last calendar year, but they've been seeing improvements. Obviously, we've recently released the Azure Local, but yeah, these are just some of the general customer connections that we've had, and there's more insights to come. We have also had I don't have control of this slide deck. Let me take control.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Hang on. There we go. We also have the partner show floor interviews. So if you haven't already, please visit. I think I just reposted recently on the Adaptive Cloud LinkedIn group, the partner show floor interviews. So these are some of the customers, and even some of you actually have participated in these. Big call out to you all that represented and came through, but they are posted now on YouTube. There's 3 more that are coming tomorrow, but there were 17 videos, 17 interviews done in total. So you can go and check them out now. Like I said, 3 more to come. So I guess you kind of got a sneak peek of what's to come tomorrow. But you can click on the link there on the Ignite Show Floor playlist. Check out some of the videos that we've already done. And then we even had a little bit of fun in the beginning, asking attendees what their favorite swag picks were. So don't feel like you missed out at Ignite. You have all of the coverage there from individuals that we spoke to. But yeah, I can hand it back over to you then, Thomas.
Yeah, so we keep it very short for the last 2 days. So there's obviously more we have done. Another like a little bit of a fun part was we went through basically the show floor and asked our PMs, our product group members, what's their favorite Azure Arc or Azure Local feature is. And so there's a full video around this. There's also a couple of others. But if you want to see that, here's the link for this one. It's 10 minutes long, but it's worth watching it because we have some funny blubbers at the end as well. So you should definitely check those out as well. If you haven't watched it yet, check out, like, there's a lot of funny answers and good answers. I think there's nothing planned, so we just went through, and so you're gonna get to meet basically all the PMs, or a lot of the PMs, not all, but a lot of the PMs working on Azure Arc and Azure Local. I think it's always good to have a face to the actual product, so that's something we did there as well. Yeah, and that's it from my side.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Thomas. So as I stated in the beginning of the call, we kept this call kind of short. I didn't know how many people were going to join, but our next call is going to be in February. We'll resume in February in the new year. I know, like I said before, January, I think the first Wednesday of the month falls on the first day, like January 1st. So next call will be February. And with that, we can open up the room to any Q&A. I know people have been coming on and off mute. That's totally fine. But if there's any questions that you might have for Tony that you've thought about for ACSA, or for research, Shelly's still here as well. Feel free to raise your hand or come off mute. Any questions? If not, that's totally okay. All of these slides will be posted to our GitHub, and you can grab all of their information from there. If you haven't already, similarly, this video, this recording will be posted to our YouTube, so you can rewatch for some of the answers that Tony had given, and same with Shelly. So last chance for questions.
One question about Azure Local and disconnected mode, so disconnected operations. Do you see that there's probably demand around the shipping industry, like containers, like for example, transporting containers between, I don't know, Asia and Europe, and the boats that are using something like Azure Local in a smaller footprint? Do you think you would see demand around that?
So I can take this one. Yeah, so this is a scenario. It's funny. I talked with someone else about scenarios like this, and this is definitely something where Azure Local, especially with the disconnected mode, also could be interesting, right? So obviously there's the connected mode, which I would personally, I highly recommend using that one. That's what's available today. And also that allows you to partially be disconnected, right? It's not that you need to be connected all the time. There's a partial disconnect.
30
It's
days.
absolutely fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I think those are very interesting use cases. I mean, we saw Azure Stack HCI and now Azure Local in many, many different and diverse places to be used, right? And so cruise ships are definitely one where we have seen usage as well. But then also, like if you talk others in the energy sector, retail, manufacturing, there is a lot of interest right now about these solutions. Yeah. But if you're interested, feel free to reach out if there are any questions around this scenario and how that would work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions? All right. If not, last chance. All right. If not, then thank you for attending today. It's been a great year meeting all of you and connecting with all of you, hearing about what you would like to see more. So with that being said, submit feedback and topics that you would like to be covered in our next call. We'd love to hear, more of what you guys are interested in learning about. So like I said, feel free to submit the form there. Similarly, if you have any friends, family, whatever, that want to join this call or want to be part of the Teams channel, go to our GitHub. You can find all of the links there as well as the calendar invites. But thanks everyone for a great year, and I will see you in the new year.